How's it going, everyone? It is Thursday, September 5th, 2024. Hope you're having a great day. Let's take a look at the picks from the last video. I gave you a few picks on the day trading, and I gave one pick for an earnings time spread. So let's go over the earnings time spread first on HPE. So I have it listed out right over here on HPE. So this was a setup. Very low times exceeded, pretty good difference, decent option liquidity. The bid-ask spreads were pretty wide, so it was going about 5 cents at the bid, 15 cents for the ask, and 10 cents on the mid. So I took the 1850 calls for a 10-cent debit, and this was actually filled as a partial order throughout the day. Got filled here, got filled a little bit later. That tells you how sort of maybe illiquid it is. So I got the fill at about a 10-cent debit, and then I just had a floating order for a 13-cent credit, and that got filled in the last 10 minutes of the day. So I managed to take a 30% gain on the same day, which is very nice. You can see that HPE has come down pretty strong initially, and then now has bounced back a little bit over here. There does seem to be it looks like I've drawn a fairly major trend line here. So there must be something coming in play. But it's really hit that 200-day SMA. Rejecting off of that so far. So it's in that range right now of minus 6.5%. Let's see where that fell in the current range. So it did beat it was much lower than the expected move, but not as much as the average move, a bit on the higher end on that trade. And if I look at the chains right now, let me check for how much it is trading if I buy 1850 calls as a net credit. Yeah, I mean, it's about, you could probably break even on the trade. And maybe there was a chance to get out very early in the day on some wild bid-ask spreads. That would be my guess on this maybe initial move up. But yeah, HPE, nice win over here. I'll go to the next one over here, which is ASTS. Took a day trade win on this guy here. So I got in on ASTS right around here on the 11:30 candle at about 34.78, and then I took a dollar profit here at 35.78, and then on this bearish engulf, I took my remaining profits at about 35.29. So overall, pretty decent trade. You can see that this bearish engulf was one of the key signals, but it's a pretty strong price action, so you know that we're going to at least come in for the double top, which we did over here, and even actually needed one more go, forming a triple top before we started seeing some heavy selling pressure, and then it closed a day below VWAP, so that told us that the selling pressure was decently heavy. Today it's come down pretty strong, testing this pretty major level over here and kind of back in that prior range. So a bit of a failed breakout over there, but we're able to take some nice wins on that stock. So ASTS was a pretty nice win. PCG, I called that early in the day as a day trade as well. Let's look at this chart here. So we had a strong move earlier. I said, look, I want to wait for some sort of pullback or a dip. Stock was compressing here, ended up kind of pulling back. Found some support halfway, forming this flag. Started to get above a VWAP, then we formed a double bottom over here, getting through this downward sloping trend line. So this is where I would have taken PCG. It did end up doing okay here. Got about you could probably get maybe 10 cents on this move as it approached close to the high of the day. And some of this resistance right over here looks like 2048 was that resistance level. So had a little bit of room, but didn't end up taking the trade. It was pretty late in the day. The market was a little bit bearish, and I didn't love the big pullback on PCE. I don't like stocks that really kind of break below that VWAP. It just tells you that it's a little bit too choppy. So PCE was a no trade. RNG. Let's take a look at RNG. This was an interesting stock. So strong move very early in the day, gap and go. I mentioned that there was some news on a CFO transition, so that might have been the catalyst for some of that movement. And I didn't want to take it early in the day. I didn't know if we are going to get a pop back up. I didn't know if this was an overreaction to the news or not, but we have some pretty steady candles, heavy selling. So the nature of the price action will tell us if it's an overreaction or not versus just sort of a one-off solo. So we get this bit of a triple bottom here, come back up, and then sellers do manage to step in here, defending most of the gains. Test down, test down, test down. So on this sell signal here with this LRSI cross, getting below VWAP is the first time we actually close below VWAP right here, and we get a close below this level. That's when our sell signal is generated. So I would definitely take it at about 29.60 and target the low of the day. So you could probably get about 60 cents on that move, and that would be a pretty nice win. I missed it later in the day, unfortunately. I just wasn't as comfortable with kind of the last, I don't know, hour 15. But looking back on it, I think this is something that I should have taken. That was a win that looked pretty good. And obviously you can say that because it was a win. But really it was the setup that we had a weak trend. We had a pretty strong move. We had the time to digest the gains. And this is it's really just a classic LRSI pullback setup. Maybe not super classic, but it is a pretty decent setup here. We've established this resistance, and now we're breaking back down the other way and joining that longer term initial trend. You can also see that the volume starts to pick up over here as well. So there was an opportunity here, but I didn't take the trade, so I can't count it as a win. But in the future, I think that's something I should look out for. How I would play it in the future is one, have a little more trust in the signals and take the trade, and then two, probably just do like a half size position and take that to the end of the day. That would have been a pretty nice move. 60 cents on this stock is a pretty nice win, all things considered. Considering the ATR of this stock is 1.46, so that would have been a pretty nice win on that kind of stock. All right. So, still a blank slate. Let's take a look at what the market is doing today. On a longer term basis over here, I mentioned that we got that big move down, and then we got a tall bounce up. We had taken some losses on some swing shorts on the tall bounce. Nothing that we weren't ready for. Bounce was taller than we expected, but that was a risk that we took. Now, we compressed right below the all-time high, forming a lower high. We got a break of that compression on the third, and we're seeing a pause yesterday, and we're seeing a little bit of follow through happening today on the 5th, so we have to see if this follow through sticks. But so far, it looks like the market is beginning to roll over. So, right now on a longer term basis, still a little bit more neutral in the longer term. I know that both buyers and sellers have flexed. Fundamentally, I'm a little more bullish. Right, we have the rate cuts coming into play. I think the economy is still looking good. There hasn't been any sort of major economic dark clouds that have been looming here. AI is still a big tailwind that's coming into play. We know that some valuations were stretched from the prior earnings. So you got all this stuff into play, and we know that bull markets tend to have with that strong starts tend to finish also pretty strong. They have a natural momentum, and so I'm really not sure what's going to happen at this juncture. Again, we got a big move both ways. The momentum, I think this is how we sort of stall it, in my opinion. Right, it's chugging along, chugging along, chugging along, chugging along. Right, chugging along. We got one little dip here, chugging along a much bigger dip here. Longer and it's deeper, and then we get that double top, and we're not really able to make that new high pretty quickly. You can see on this dip here, we hit this we hit this all-time high with compressed here, and then we actually broke through on the 15th. I believe that was probably some CPI data that came into play, and then we chugged along higher. So over here, we need that catalyst, and look, it could be FOMC meeting coming up this month. It could be the CPI. We have unemployment report tomorrow. I don't think unemployment report and CPI are really going to move the needle. I think it's going to be the Fed hike. We have, the Fed decision, FOMC meeting. We have a cut priced in into that meeting. So I think if that cup comes into play, if it matches that market expectation, that shouldn't be a major mover. Again, it's going to be that guidance for the future on the timing of the rate cuts, the nature of them. Is it going to be a 25 or a 50 point basis BPS cut? So that's really, I think, what's going to be driving some of the market action halfway through the month. And then after that, it's going to be October season. We're going to have beginning of earnings, and then we're going to have the election. So all of these things are going to be in play. On a shorter term basis, I'm a little bit more bearish right now. I do see that we're getting some follow through. I'd like to see us close below the 50-day SMA today. We do have the unemployment report tomorrow, so I don't need to go gangbusters on a short. Maybe I'll take potentially one swing short. So let's look at a couple of picks that are doing pretty well today. Now, a lot of the long picks have taken some heat, but there's a couple of short picks that I liked earlier today. So let's go over one pick that was a pretty nice day trade. IEP was a nice little day trade. It's been compressing a little bit here for a tad too long, but I'm going to set an alert at the low of the day. If it can break down before that through SPY, we can get something going. The stock has been seeing some major selling. I don't feel comfortable taking a swing on it, but has a lot of momentum. It could work for a day trade. Wait till this support is broken, and then we can get in on that trade. IEP is a nice one. PSX, nice steady grinder over here. Not super weak relative to SPY. There's some buyers over here, but nice little breakdown on this compression on this horizontal level. And we have some room to this low here at about $1 to that low. SPY starting to break down here. This might be a good opportunity for a short. HR was looking good earlier today, and now it's giving back a lot of those gains. CLF, I think I like a lot. Beautiful fall through. It's actually been leaking lower while the market has been, while the market has been moving down. So I might have to go with CLF as the pick of the day. We got a little gap up, filled in the gap pretty quickly while the market was moving down. As soon as the market started to wane, this stock was actually leading the charge down, and it's still going down. It's still kind of waffling down here. So I like CLF. I like it as a pick. And I think that's going to be my pick of the day. CLF as a day trade short. I don't want to recommend any longs at the moment. We need to see us get back above the 50 SMA. And look, we haven't seen any kind of tall bounce. Sellers have been on this stock on the market over here on the stock. So yeah, I like CLF. I like what I am seeing over here. And I think that is going to be the pick of the day. Let's take a look at a couple more, just to see what's coming up on my list. EMR is starting to break down. I like this move right over here. Starting to lose its relative weakness. Getting through this level. 99.29. Right over here. There looks like to be some support on this stock right at this level. A little bit of a bearish compression break. I like EMR a little bit more, actually. So I'm also going to go with EMR as a day trade short. Those are going to be my two picks for today. And then as far as any swing trading goes, we got to see a close below this 50-day SMA. But a couple of picks that I liked, I'll just throw them out over here. Well, I like to see ELH on the D1. Looks like it's having a day of pause today. PayPal is still bullish. Had some selling over here. MMN is holding up pretty well. That could be a pretty nice long. Oof. MTD was good yesterday, selling off today. Same thing with IBM. Yep, AAP, I took a day trade on this earlier today. That was a nice little win. You can see the stock has been flatlining, so not really able to make that new low of the day here. Kind of digesting some of the gains. Let's look at just some other weak D1s. See if we can find anything that's a nice little swing-worthy pick. M is breaking down here through this compression, through this upward sloping trend line. This is a pretty nice breakdown here. This is a pretty nice breakdown. I am going to have to go with... Yeah, I like this quite a bit. Volume is okay. Volume is okay. There's some energy stocks here as well. It's a nice breakdown in VLO. Looks like there's maybe some high volume candles coming here. We could be in a bit of a danger zone. Yeah, we got some high volume candles here. So I keep an eye on VLO. I do still like it. It is in a nice bearish channel. The breakdown of these channels, though, can have a bit of a snapback, so just be careful on those. Going through Mara. I like Mara here. Close to this low, so there's just not a lot of room, but some good price action today. If we can break this low, then I think we could be in good shape. RXC bouncing a little bit. And we can even take a look at, by the way, too, what is driving this market right now. Looks like tech is actually not driving it down. Healthcare, industrials, finance, basic mats, or I guess I'd really say healthcare and industrials are the real weak ones today. Mega cap is actually doing pretty decently well. Looks like what is weak here. Equal weighted stocks are weak. Finance is pretty weak. Tech is actually looking okay for the most part. It's actually on a bit of a stronger side. So this is a bit of a non-tech decline. Makes me a little bit less bearish. So I'd look for a nice little non-tech stock. So I'm just going to go with those two day trade shorts for the moment. Let's see what happens today. And I gave you a couple of different stocks to look at if we do get a close below the 50 SMA. Hopefully you guys have some good picks in hand. Thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll take a look at how these did in tomorrow's video.